Draw a figure, alright. Is that? Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus Star-Crossed World is an upgrade on basically every conceivable level. It builds on the original with several new courses, mouthful modes and a much appreciated performance boost to 60 FPS. Not to mention of countless other additions I won't spoil here. It's the Forgotten Land DLC we always wished for, but as many feared after early hands-on impressions, it also brings a notable disimprovement. One that, while expected, still stinks. It's such a niche and inconspicuous issue that most players probably won't notice. You can't even qualify it as a first world problem. The upper class will start to spit their caviar at you. Yes, today is a great day for the unemployed as we mourn the loss of the Forgotten Land's most iconic and useful glitch, the hammer jump glitch. In the original Forgotten Land on the Switch, players could perform a relatively simple glitch using the hammer ability, by executing a hammer bounce just after Kirby began to lose altitude while flying, and then repeatedly pressing B, Kirby would rocket upward without the usual limit. This allowed players to reach areas they were never meant to access, and with a bit of practice, almost anyone could replicate the glitch. The hammer glitch was clearly never intended, but since the Forgotten Land never received a major update, it was also never patched out. On August 20, 2025, the game received update version 1.1.0, adding support for the upcoming Nintendo Switch 2 edition. According to fans, the hammer jump glitch was still functional at that point, suggesting it might not have been intentionally removed. However, since the Switch 2 edition enhances both frame rate and resolution, there is a good chance the glitch was automatically eliminated as a side effect of the performance boost. Other features such as the ice ability have also been affected by the jump to 60 frames per second, showing that a handful of gameplay elements behave differently due to the improved hardware. But why does it matter? Outside of speedrunning or personal shenanigans, the glitch didn't have many practical uses. The only mildly notable stunt was summoning multiple final bosses, but I wouldn't be making this video if that was all. The real loss, the reason the missing glitch in the Switch 2 edition of Kirby and the Forgotten Land actually matters, is rare stones. These valuable upgrade materials are the hidden calculator that determines whether a true 100% playthrough takes 50 hours or 100. Rare stones are primarily used to upgrade copy abilities in Waddle Dee Village. After completing the game, it's also possible to power up each copy ability further, boosting their offensive strength beyond the base evolution. This extra step isn't required for 100% completion. You only need to evolve each ability, not powering them up fully. It's just a nice bonus for fans who need an excuse to keep playing and give them the impression they can still unlock something. To power up every single skill, you need roughly 400 rare stones in total, 66 for mere evolutions and around 330 for power-ups. In a regular playthrough, you will find more than enough rare stones to evolve the abilities, but the game clearly didn't expect you to go hunting for 330 more. That's why it's relatively easy to reach that satisfying 100% on your save file without diving into the post-game grind. The only reliable way to farm rare stones is by repeatedly clearing the arena, which can be made significantly faster with the right combination of copy abilities and support items, but still becomes tedious after a while. However, I want to emphasize that this grind only affects a very specific type of dedicated completionists, the kind who aims to unlock everything, even if it doesn't count toward the official completion percentage. Strength and copy abilities are not mandatory to beat any challenge in the game, and you will not receive a worse experience by leaving them be. They aren't required to beat any fight in the game, and ignoring them won't negatively impact your impression. Still, thanks to the glitch, there was once a sneaky way to farm rare stones in the arena without having to fully participate in a cup. By using the hammer jump glitch near the Colosseum, Kirby would fly out of bounds and access the entrance from the opposite side. This led to several interesting differences. Just like in a normal run, Kirby would appear in the rest area with 6 upcoming battles displayed. But that wasn't actually the case. Unlike a traditional arena run where you fight a series of bosses back to back, using the glitch would trigger only a single encounter. After defeating that one boss, the game would recognize your win as if you had completed the entire challenge, rewarding you with a rare stone. You would miss out on the prize money normally earned throughout the full run, but unless you are aiming to collect every figure multiple times, that loss is hardly significant. And frankly, that's a whole different beast. I spent many hours using this technique to collect all the rare stones I needed, and it still took me quite the lengthy playtime to reach true completion. But it's clearly faster and more approachable. Without the glitch, you have to fight all those battles every time you enter, and it was rather enjoyable to have such a handy yet easy to perform glitch to use. From my understanding, and after completing Star-Crossed World 100%, there's no real substitute for this trivial issue. Unfortunately, the newly added campaign doesn't hide any rare stones with within its level variations, which I actually consider a missed opportunity. Not only would it have helped players further power up their abilities, but it also could have contributed to balancing the surprising challenge in certain sections. While playing through the new highest difficulty on the arena, I often forgot that my abilities were even powered up, simply because of how little damage I was dealing against the tougher enemies and the secret final boss. Of course, it's still a Kirby game and the Forgotten Land offers some of the easiest ways to mitigate difficulty, but I wouldn't be surprised if many players who haven't fully upgraded their copy abilities need a few extra attempts to reach the true ending. And although it's a small detail in the grand scheme of things, it feels like something that could have easily been fixed. You receive 3 rare stones for beating the new arena, but given that it represents the greatest challenge in the game, bumping that reward up to 5 would have made perfect sense. Passionate players will likely take on the arena multiple times with self-imposed challenges, like avoiding copy abilities or going for record times, and that alone will eventually rack up their rare stone count. But still, there's no real reason to not offer a greater price for the game's greatest challenge. The same goes for the absence of new treasure routes for all the new mouthful modes, something I am honestly expected to be a given. Star-Crossed World unlocks as soon as you beat the first world, so I understand the argument that hiding rare stones within its levels might have disrupted the game's balance when upgrading abilities during the regular campaign. But that excuse doesn't really hold up considering when most players are actually going to play the expansion. I don't have hard data of course, but I would argue that most fans purchase Star-Crossed World as DLC for their existing Switch 1 version of the Forgotten Land rather than through the more expensive Switch 2 edition. Sure, some players will experience both games for the first time on the Switch 2, but I would hazard an uneducated guess and say that group is in the minority. Most players will likely dive into Star-Crossed World after finishing the main campaign, which also makes more sense narratively. It just feels more coherent as a continuation of both the lore and gameplay experience. This is why I regard rare stones as a lost opportunity when it could have been easy to include them. The same goes for the hammer glitch. It was an inoffensive, harmless and entertaining glitch that didn't break the game, nor was it hard to perform. Assuming the culprit is the increased frame rate, I understand they won't go out of their way to return an accidental glitch never intended to exist, and it does give the Switch 2 version a charming legacy unique to its otherwise much superior version. Ultimately, this simple nitpick shouldn't distract you from the fact that the Switch 2 edition improves the original in every conceivable way, and I plan to elaborate on it in a future review. But before that, I have to grind for another 30 hours because they added a bunch of new figures. I need to get 9 of each to receive that small little crown for all of them. Is that caviar on my neck?